For him to do that's disgraceful. He
It's
should
not
be
only
ashamed of
disgraceful,
that.
but doesn't it feel like it contradicts Harry's desperation for security? Like if you feel like you are owed special security everywhere you go all over the world, wouldn't you not put yourself and your family in jeopardy by bragging about something like that? I think she wants us to think that she's this fierce feminist who's doing this stuff by herself. But the reality is, nobody knew who she was before she married Prince Harry, and nobody would care about her if it weren't for Prince Harry today. Hi, all. Welcome to Reading Royals with body language expert Scott Rouse. And I'm Kinsey Schofield. Reading Royals brings history, headlines, and human behavior together in a way only Scott and I can. We go beyond palace press releases and carefully staged photo ops to look at what is really being communicated. And Scott, you were telling me earlier that you're on Harry watch, and he has been pretty busy this week. I think I would ask you, as somebody that's not necessarily invested in royal watching,
Mhm.
as fiercely as we are, does it strike you as odd that the week before King Charles is supposed to touch down in the United States for mediation between Keir Starmer and President Trump and a celebration of America's 250 years, that Harry would go to Ukraine and would challenge Putin and President Trump? Is are we looking at stupidity here or arrogance?
That's arrogance, I think, because the self-importance he puts into that, like what he says means something. There's people asking him, so I think he lives in that world where he doesn't really he's never lived in the world like we do. He sees it from a different perspective. I think that's what we're seeing because what he's talking about, that's crazy. Like somebody would care what he thought when they've already said you're not a royal anymore or you're not, you can't be doing this, and he's still doing it. Man, he can't call himself a prince or anything, and he's still doing that and
Yeah.
thinks everyone else thinks that too.
Yeah.
Psychologically, that's odd. And you could look at it and say, um, it's a form of, well, it's almost schizophrenic. It's not because he's never lived in the real world, but if a real person or a person out in the real world did that, that'd be schizophrenic.
Well, yeah, we
See,
would be we would be seriously questioning them. I do have to say, in his defense, he is the Duke of Sussex. He is Prince Harry. He's not allowed to use his HRH title, but he's also not technically supposed to use the Prince Harry title or the Duke of Sussex title in any commercial venture. But we've seen him do that. So it's not like Andrew, where he's now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He's been stripped of his Prince title. He's been stripped of his Duke of York title. He's truly Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, or as everybody says now, ex Prince Andrew, because it's just easier to say because Prince Andrew slips
mhm.
just comes out. So you're like, ex Prince Andrew. Um, Harry was gifted, in my opinion, it was a form of sympathy and a form of kindness. The Queen allows him to keep his titles when he leaves, but there were some rules that he had to follow. And we saw those rules blown up in Australia. It's also, I don't know if we should save this conversation, but we're having it right now. So we'll just continue it. It's also really hard for me to take a guy seriously honest on a world stage like that, who wrote about his Todger over 50 times in Spare. Like, if you know you want to be taken seriously as a world public figure or an influencer when it comes to geopolitical issues, whatever, shouldn't you behave as such early
Yeah.
on? And or shouldn't you be conscious of that when you're about to write a book about your life and not make it something that Jimmy Kimmel poked fun? Jimmy Kimmel did a whole skit about Harry and his Todger and the ghost of his mother coming down while he's applying cream to him. Like, you made yourself a joke, and now you're trying to insist that we take you seriously.
Yeah, that's too bad because when you're in a position like that, you're supposed to take that air on,
Mm-hmm.
the air of importance.
Yeah.
He's not really pulling that off. And when you start talking about that, that shows your you're not connected with the royal family or the respect for it, because he should know not to do that or say that. You don't get anywhere near something like that when you're supposed to be taken seriously. I know it's supposed to be, this is all the behind the scenes of my life and all that stuff, but
But think about, he goes on James Corden, and it was like they joked about how he was literally the fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He walked into a stranger's house and peed, and that was the joke. He went on Jimmy Fallon and did a haunted maze or something, and was cursing and saying and something you would never expect to hear out of Prince William's mouth in a casual way. He did the Hallmark skit on the who's the late night host that's losing his job this year, on
Steve
CBS.
Colbert.
Stephen Colbert, he did the Hallmark skit on Stephen Colbert. So like I use the Todger example as an extreme, but his
Mhm.
behavior regularly is not one of somebody that would be or should be taken seriously as somebody that would have influence on anything whatsoever, like this serious.
Yeah, I agree. It's just so, I'm not, since I don't know all the details of all that stuff, did he really go in somebody's house and pee?
Yeah.
Really?
He did like an open bus top tour of Hollywood with James Corden when James Corden still had a late night show, and he had to pee. So they stopped at someone's house randomly and asked if he could use the restroom. And yeah, that was supposed to be the big joke, that Harry peed in a stranger's house. And that's just like one of many examples of Harry not behaving like, uh, it's that him desperately leaning into Hollywood, or leaning into what he thinks Hollywood wants,
Hmm.
and ultimately Hollywood rejecting both him and his wife, because what Hollywood wants is a return on investment. And what Hollywood wants, and you know this because you have a brother that
Hmm.
works here, what Hollywood wants is a return on investment, and what Hollywood wants is work ethic, and what Hollywood wants is creativity. And that's really not what that they don't get that from the Sussexes, in my opinion. They only had one commercial success with Netflix, is which went they were tearing into the British royal family during that one commercial success. It was very serious, very dark. It wasn't playful, it wasn't fun. Meghan
Hmm.
crying in a bathroom with a towel on her head, like, and oh,
When was
Beyonce just,
this? When she cried in the, I don't know this.
you
When she
gotta
cried in
watch
the,
you
tell me when
man,
she's crying in
we
the bathroom.
maybe when we're feeling especially masochistic, we can go back and watch the Harry and Meghan docu series. But they strategically, with their cell phones, captured their exit from the British royal family.
Oh,
And so
okay.
we see a lot of that, but then also of course, then the Netflix crews come in, and they're being followed by cameras. But she's in the bathroom crying about leaving the British royal family, and how difficult it's been. It's like, girl, you've been living your best life on MasterChef since you left the British royal family. We don't want to hear it. She has. I mean, every dream she ever had has come true. And Prince Harry, we've been saying for years, looks absolutely rudderless. So then he does this extreme pivot from wanting to be playful, wanting to be silly after years of playing the victim. Everybody bullies me. My life is so unfair. Then he tries to be goofy and silly, and we're like, no, no, we have been fed too much of the victimhood for this to take off in this direction. To now he's going to try to just set Trump and Putin straight.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to talking about him in the very first part of him peeing somebody, pulling over to pee at somebody's house. So I always say, whoever uses this term has none class. The kid ain't got no class, Kinsey, because you don't do that. This guy's controllable. That's why we're seeing him bouncing all over the place, because he doesn't know who he is. He thinks he's this prince or whatever. That's where I think inside that's the way he sees himself. But the insecurity he has says, I don't know who I am. That's why she's in charge of everything. That's why it's
Mm-hmm.
always about her. And he stands there like, yeah, she's awesome, because he's controllable. Anybody that will do that, and you'll go from way over here to way over here, then try to end up in the middle and be all serious and go way over here. He's not in charge of himself. Does that make sense?
It does, and that also justifies the silliness we see on some of these like late night shows when he's trying to change public
Yeah.
perception. I always feel like these are straight PR moves. He rarely has anything to promote specifically.
Yeah.
For instance, the night that he did the Hallmark skit
Hmm.
on Stephen Colbert, we found out that same day. So I assume he's found out at the same time that Thomas Markle is so sick in the Philippines that he's had a leg amputated. And Harry would go on Stephen Colbert and be silly and goofy. If that happened to you or I, no matter what was going on with our in laws' families, we would say it's inappropriate for us to do this on international television tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would reflect poorly on me. I'm going to sit this one out. Call me again in the future and maybe we could pursue this. But my wife's father just lost a limb and it's going to reflect poorly on me if I go on TV and try to be silly tonight. Nope, he did it. So when you say he's controllable, like I feel you're absolutely right because yeah, sure somebody was in his ear going, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
And he did it and it reflected horribly on him.
Yeah. So, and that's a bad spot to be in because he probably doesn't realize that. He probably thinks he's in charge because the person controlling him or people controlling him are telling him he is. Because when you do that, these are manipulation things. Nobody should use these concepts I'm giving you, but I have to deal with that in interrogation, so I'll know what I'm dealing with. But when you have a person like that, it's easy to control them because you make them feel like they're the ones that are in control, and you keep feeding them that. Not just, and nobody they don't get together as a group and go, "Here's what we're going to do." It just starts happening, and the other people see it. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. They don't say out loud he's controllable or whatever, but everybody sees what's going on, and that's why they can use him like that. Now, having said that, when they get a divorce or whatever when they get a divorce or whatever happens with them, I'm not going to feel sorry for this guy. I'm not
Allegedly.
because of the way
Yeah.
he treated his family.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if that happens, I know I'm talking about this, but listen, this whole
I mean,
royal
honestly,
thing,
this is what Scott and
it's
I talk
got
about off camera too. So
it's
this is
got
me and
me.
Scott off camera.
The whole royal thing, it got me. I'm in.
Yeah.
I want to know what they're doing, what's happening, what's she gonna do now. It's got me. So I
Wait,
think
can I ask you a really dark question?
yeah, I'm good at that.
Um, talking about this manipulation tactic of
Oh, yeah.
making him think it's his idea.
Hmm.
I have a theory that Meghan realized that Harry had a mother wound,
Hmm.
that Harry, you know, ached for this figure that he lost early on that really was a wonderful mom to him.
Hmm.
And Meghan took advantage of that and became sort of a maternal figure to him in a way. Is there any association with that of like her mothering him, loving on him? I believe that's manipulation, but also realizing that the fastest way to get things done is to make him think it's his idea, because that would explain so much, starting with Megxit, starting with Harry and Meghan leaving the British royal family. No, that was his idea. That wasn't my idea. That was
Hmm.
Harry's idea. When really, we never had any inkling of Harry wanting to escape the British royal family until she comes along.
Right. Well, that's a classic. I mean, that's the way sometimes kingdoms are run. I mean, that goes back ages and ages. There's even a show called The Blackadder. That's a really funny show, but it's about how this guy who they always put him in different positions. Like if he's the butler, he's actually the one that's running England because he has the king's ear like that, and he
Ah.
controls the king, gets done what he wants done because it's like Machiavellian to the ultimate. He gets what he wants done from the person with power by controlling them without them knowing it or anybody else knowing it. They make him feel smart, make feel like you nailed it, makes it feel like it's his idea. And don't you see what's happening here? That kind of thing. And they back up and see. And what's happening is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal family stuff or normal political or whatever it
Yes,
is.
Meghan, you're
And
brand new into the family. Not everybody's going to immediately like you
yeah,
or no, they don't know you, and they're like their guards are up because they're in such a unique position. And she's going to him going, they hate me. They're being so cruel to me. And
Mhm.
he's, don't you see that that them asking about the baby's hair color is racist? And he's like, is it? I'm red. I have red hair. Like, is it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, he goes for it and he goes, you're right. Let's leave. Let's flee.
That's the way it's done. That's the way you get it done. If you're getting that style of manipulation, it's Machiavellian. Is what that's that style. It's one of the Machiavellian types or styles of manipulation. So,
Wow.
and
Wow.
then I'm
Well,
telling you, the only reason I know that is for work.
enough of us talking about this. I mean, we actually have some examples that we can break down. And while I wanted to start on the Prince and Princess of Wales because they're such a happier topic, we're already at Harry. So let's shake up the rundown a little bit. We'll end on a high note with the Prince and Princess of Wales. But for right now, let's look at Prince Harry, who made a surprise trip to Kyiv and delivered unusually direct remarks urging Vladimir Putin to end the war and calling on President Trump to help lead a resolution. It's a notable shift in tone, Todgergate, with Harry speaking far more explicitly than the royal family typically does. We'll talk about the debate as to whether or not he's still royal in a second, but I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that real working royals avoid politics, avoid anything that could be considered political. Those are just the rules. That's the protocol. And we have Harry here saying, I am a royal, but also definitely, I think, violating said protocol with this speech. So let's listen to some of the comments he made while he was in the Ukraine.
President Putin, no nation benefits from the continued loss of life we are witnessing. There is still a moment now to stop this war. I am not here as a politician. I am here as a soldier who understands service, as a humanitarian who has seen the human cost of conflict, and as a friend of Ukraine who believes the world must not grow used to this war or numb to its consequences.
Okay, Scott. Well, first of all, I saw a really great video you did not too long ago that was really silly, where you're like, Harry, get a belt. I
Oh yeah.
we didn't really see. I mean, he's hyped. He's hyped for this. Like,
Mhm.
I think he delivered this stronger than he's delivered previous speeches. I don't know if it's caffeine. I don't know if I could
Yeah.
say what else I would suggest it could be, but he comes off a little more confident that he than he has from previous videos and speeches you and I've covered together.
Yeah, he's focused on this and he's actually read this one before. Most of the other ones, all the other ones up to this point, no kidding. He's read, I don't think he's even read one time. There's one of them he didn't read once. And that's the one where he has the worst problem with his pants. That's why I was saying that. Because one of his things is when you see this guy anywhere, except for that when he was coming in the hospital on that Australia trip, it's the only time he didn't grab his jacket or pull his pants up, dealing with any of that. But if you watch him, even when he's giving speeches, he'll do that thing where he pulls his pants up and fixes his shirt, but he keeps pulling his pants up. And he may have done it the whole time for years or whatever. Like I said before, this thing's got me, so I'm way up in it now. And so I'm watching everything they do, and that cat's constantly pulling his pants up.
Yeah.
And you'd think somebody that loved him would say, "Hey, man, you got to stop doing that. It looks goofy.
Mm.
You got to quit doing that.
I went
You
to
really do."
TJ Maxx and I got you a belt.
Exactly. But you know what she's missing?
Oh,
TJ Maxx. She
yeah.
never goes in there.
No. I
Every
went to
woman I
Neiman
know,
Marcus and I got you a belt.
every woman I know lives for TJ Maxx. They love T. I don't know what it is about that, but
It's the
I,
fact that we're getting a $40 candle for $7.
well, let me tell you something else. Just so the women who are watching this know this, when you go to TJ Maxx and your husband or your boyfriend, whoever takes you there, we're sitting in the car and we're talking to the other people there. I think I've talked about that on here before.
You're like,
We
we're
really
talking.
do. Yeah,
We are bonding. We're making friends.
I'm telling you, and you'll see people uh, Jeff, John, who's the other guy? Houston.
You might as well roll up with coffee and donuts for your friends.
Yeah, see, I think you're on something there. They need a tent out there just for the guys,
You
so we don't
do
mind how long you're in
with
there.
a TV so you guys could be watching football or something. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, so any other takeaways from this? You also have talked about how he's sometimes is it him putting his hands in his pockets? Does he do that
Oh, yeah, he puts
sometimes
his
too?
hand in his pocket. But not only does he do that, he's doing something. He's not doing what it's going to sound like I'm saying he's doing. He's not. I'm not inferring that at all. But he's in there goofing around with keys or money or something in his pocket because you can see his arm moving the whole time. And it's not a good look.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, we know why. But,
yeah.
somebody who loved him would say, you know what, man? You need to stop doing that. Let's get you a good belt. Or if it's a tick you have or a habit or a nervous habit, which it probably is, it's probably just using that as an adapter and a way to get rid of that built up stress and tension. He's used to doing it, makes him feel relaxed because it looks like he's preparing. And when you
But are
see,
you sensing, because this is what Dickie Arbiter told me, are you sensing that he has been practicing for these specific Australia, Ukraine? Dickie Arbiter, who worked for King Charles and Queen Elizabeth, said to me, he's different. Has, is he less anxious? Is he more anxious? Are you sensing that somebody said, we've got Invictus coming up. You want the royal family at Invictus. You need to look more royal. You're a little rusty. You need to be either, like you said, reading these over and over again, or specifically working with somebody. Could he be specifically working with someone on his confidence and on his delivery? Because that's the sense I got specifically from Ukraine, more so than Australia.
okay, the thing about Ukraine is he's focused there. And like I said before, he's read this speech before. The other ones, I think, was Australia and a couple others hadn't read them before. And he's used to doing that off the cuff, getting up there and reading and looking up and then reading a couple of words and looking up as he's ending the sentences. That's why you always see his illustrators are off and they keep doing, when he finishes talking, they keep going and they don't hit on the words they're supposed to. Illustrators are the way your brain emphasizes specific words and phrases, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. And when those don't land on the words they're supposed to land on that you're emphasizing, or they keep going after you say something, then we know he's got internal dialogue going on up there. So in this last one, or it may be the last one, I don't know, but it's the one that he did about Putin. He's focused in this one because he knows that's his only line to making him look like an important political figure in the royal family. He's connecting that there. That's why that other video, which we'll look at in a little while, when the guys ask him about that, what do you think when people don't think say you're not royal or real royal or whatever the phrase is? We'll discuss that in a few minutes, but this is how he's trying to keep that together. He's trying to look royal and trying to look like he's the guy that knows what's going on and he is the prince and still involved and connected, which is the vibe they try to give everyone. Although everybody here watching knows that's not true. He's not as connected as he's coming on like he's connected.
Yeah.
That's why I think there's that little disconnect, psychologically. I don't know if he's accepted that yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into more of that in a second. I do want to change gears just for a moment and show you this. It's still Harry related, but also not Harry related. I'm curious to know based on body language, how you feel President Trump really feels about Harry's wife.
Okay.
Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing? How's his wife? Please give him my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much. Great advice.
So I felt a little anger there. Like, how's his wife? Like, we know no one likes her. How's his wife? And then I know he's not speaking for the UK, which is true. And there is this very weird, he's sitting there wearing during that speech, he's wearing a UK and Ukraine flag, but he's not speaking for the UK. He no longer represents the United Kingdom. He is a private citizen of Montecito, California, USA. What was your takeaway there from Trump? And I'm especially curious regarding the immediate reaction, including Meghan Markle. Like, he immediately says something about Meghan.
Okay. We're dealing with three things. Let's go back to that when he's giving the speech. And let's talk about when it shows, which was a mistake, those military people looking at him, those guys see what's going on. They understand, know exactly what's happening. Nothing's getting by them. And I think I think if nobody had been watching,
Wait, should we explain that though? Like, can I translate that? Are you saying that Harry's using them to elevate his own profile? Is that the proper translation when you say they know exactly what's going on? He's
no,
using this moment to elevate his own profile, and he
that's
has
what
really
he's
no.
used, right? That's what he's trying to use it for. But
Yeah,
these
yeah,
guys are all but laughing at him.
yeah,
And I'm telling you, if they had watched this in a room by themselves, you've heard people knee slapping when they're laughing.
yeah.
That's what would have been. They would have been pushing each other and laughing and everything else because this guy is for real a nobody on the global stage. When it
Hmm.
comes to talking about war, what experience does he have besides what part he played when he was in the military? He does.
Hmm.
He doesn't. I think he was a captain or something.
He did 2 tours in Afghanistan, but it, they if we're and I appreciate him doing that,
Yeah.
but the reality was he was heavily protected because of his role. He was heavily protected
Oh,
because he was, the future king's son, and so they went out of their way to ensure his safety. And then also, those are not the type of men that would brag in their book about killing 25 Taliban. Several people that I spoke to that worked in service said that is such a no-no. You
so
don't brag about your kills in a book.
right. So he said that in a book.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell
In
you something.
in
I've
Spare.
I've never been in the military. I'm not that guy, but everybody I sure talk to a lot of them. You don't do that. You don't do that. Now I'm telling you, if I'm I can tell you this. Let's say, for example, I'm training a group of what we call operators, and they're special ops guys. Okay, and you're talking, and you spend a lot of time with these people, right? And you talk to them for a couple of minutes, and then you realize, or for a couple of minutes, you may train for an hour or two, and then stop, and everybody goes outside or whatever. And then as you're talking to them, they put that little green hat on, and you go, "Holy smokes!" That's and not once. I've never heard one of them talk about that at all. Not even that. And I know, and I promise you, these are the guys that would be doing that. Nobody says anything about that. Nobody's got their look. I'm a cool, nothing like that. For him to do that's disgraceful. He
It's
should
not
be
only
ashamed of
disgraceful,
that.
but doesn't it feel like it contradicts Harry's desperation for security? Like, if you feel like you are owed special security everywhere you go all over the world, wouldn't you not put yourself and your family in jeopardy by bragging about something like that?
Yeah. Oh, obviously. But what that tells us again is he's not part of the inner circle of military because he doesn't know how to keep his dang mouth shut about that. Nobody talks about. There are people that and there are people that are watching it that have somebody maybe living in their house that have done far more than this guy claims to have done, and you'll never know about it. When my uncles went to World War II. There's a book called Flyboy, and if you look at the inside cover of Flyboy, it's my uncle in this fighter because he was off the aircraft carriers, and my other uncle was a Marine, and these guys were in the thick of it. They would tell me and my brother and my dad these stories about the things that happened on Iwo Jima, and they would tell us about the bombing raids that he went on. My Uncle John would tell that. And what they did was their mother, my great grandmother, was so worried about them. What they did was they spent an afternoon, each of them, in an office having their picture made. And you could see them like writing stuff down and looking at stuff and doing like this, smiling, like in their uniform dress stuff, and they sent those home. And then how's it going? I got an office job, Mom. We're just sitting
Ah,
around, you know, here's what's
so
going
they
on.
wouldn't be worried.
Yeah, and here's me out by an airplane, things
Yeah.
like that, so that she didn't get any of that while they were gone. You know what I mean? So they were
Yeah.
doing something like that. So that aside, you don't talk about that stuff, and you may have somebody that and I'm sure you do, that was in the military, and they go, "Oh, shoot, I did whatever it was." They don't want to talk about that. They don't want. They don't want. They don't.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful to everybody involved. So he wasn't on the inside of all that. He doesn't know not to do that. And I'm shaking my finger, but I won't say what I'd say about that guy, but that's not good. That's not good. That's disrespectful.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Now, what did you think about Trump's reaction? I don't think he liked the question at all.
Well, well, he has to be very careful with that because guess who's coming to town?
Yeah.
Dad. His dad's coming. So he's going to meet with him and they're going to have to, and they've got some heavy stuff to talk about. So that has to be brought up because he's out mouthing off like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or Harry is. I don't even call him Prince Harry anymore. I'm going to call him Harry. So he's out doing that. And that has, you have to address it when the question comes up. And he's very polite about it all. But you can see what he really thinks about it. And I'm sure the king thinks this, may have the same feelings. I'm not going to speak for him. I don't know that cat. You do. I don't. But I've never met him. You've hung out with him. So I wouldn't think he would think any differently than that. I think the respect level is probably the same from both of them. But President Trump's got to be real careful there because you don't want to. Oh, he's out bad mouth. Did you hear what he said about? What do you think about what he said about? The British people.
And he's just saying like, well, he does say, he doesn't have the authority. I don't care. He doesn't have the authority. He doesn't have the authority.
Exactly. Like, who is that to be doing? It's like I said before, it's like me doing that. If I went out and said, for some reason, when Sarah started talking about what I thought about Ukraine and nobody cares because I don't have any validity. There's no valid reason for me to be doing that any more than there's any valid reason for him to be doing that.
I really do. I think it crosses a line. I think it crosses, it's one thing if he's in Ukraine to support wounded warriors, which, is affiliated with Invictus, but it just is like, who are you? And I think that there's something, we talked about manipulation earlier. I think that there's something very manipulative about what Harry and Meghan do when they do pursue little charity ventures, like kneeling with sick children, like the Bondi Beach victims. They go for such sensitive and they go for things that we can all agree on are horrible, like sick children and a massacre on a beach, or even Ukraine. Like, they go for these very delicate matters so that we look bad if we criticize them for doing it, despite the fact that we're trying to hold them accountable for their ulterior motives, which is just to elevate themselves or to change public perception, to rebrand. They left the British royal family to pursue a career in Hollywood, and it hasn't worked out in 6 years. So now they're going, oh, I guess we have to go be royal again so that people will like us. And that's all we're doing. Do we want wars to end? Yes. I mean, I have a peace sign tattooed on my body. I don't like war. Do I think sick children are horrible and it breaks my heart? I do. I was devastated over the Bondi Beach shooting, but I don't think Harry and Meghan are the right mascots for any of these issues.
That's because they're living out her fantasy. You see, she's controlling him. She got him, and she's trying to live out her fantasy of what she thinks that world is. Does that make sense?
It is.
So
it
that's
does.
why it looks so weird.
It looks weird, but it also feels like there's no depth or sincerity, that they are using these people. I mean, especially when Meghan Markle then takes the wardrobe she was just wearing while embracing sick children and tries to earn a commission off of it on an app. It doesn't feel real. And so I don't want to see it from them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's again, she's living out her fantasy. And when she had, like, when I got that box of stuff from As Ever, that somebody sent me, that Chase sent me.
Yeah.
And it had that, and you get a thing in there with HRH on it, and it has her name under it. And Meg, like when they're still putting their HRH on stuff and they're not supposed to, and they're going, and I'll bet you anything, when they were all the cards which they'll have to send, the thank you cards, it was great, thanks, all that, $1,000 says those things have that HRH on it. That's why I got my own. Remember, I told you I was going to get my own.
You did it.
If they can do it, I can do it too.
Does it mean anything to you that Trump immediately brings up Meghan Markle, who wasn't a part of the question? Like, he's real, that's a personal dig, because, Meghan has been very critical of Trump publicly. And in return, Trump, specifically when Trump was asked not too long ago if he would deport Prince Harry if he found out that he lied on his visa application about drug use, Trump was like, look, I think he's got enough to deal with that wife, like, so there's a tug of war going on there when it comes to Trump and Meghan. And it's one of the few things politically I enjoy observing.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. 2 reasons. Number 2 is you can't talk about him because, you can't talk about him without talking about her because she won't allow it.
Yeah.
She won't allow you to talk about her without talking about him. She always brings him up. So yeah. So they're one entity basically. If you can't have one without the other one. That's what I'm saying. If they get divorced, I'm not feeling sorry for this guy, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like this guy.
Well, I kind of agree with you, but she has tried to brand herself outside of him. But it's impossible to do because she's irrelevant without him. So
there you go. That's I guess that's what I'm trying to say because I don't know about a rebranding and I guess tell me about that. Just talk about that for a second. Tell me what is she doing?
Well, doing as ever with Love Meghan.
I got you.
He's barely in with Love Meghan. Of all the episodes, I think he appears once or twice. As ever is, she has recently launched some candles that are inspired by her children, although we would argue that she's just cashing in on her children's royal affiliation. So she is trying, the app, all of these investments, these are not, I think she wants us to think that she's this fierce feminist who's doing this stuff by herself. But the reality is nobody knew who she was before she married Prince Harry, and nobody would care about her if it weren't for Prince Harry today.
So let's talk about that app for a second. With the app, she's trying to get famous people to use it too. Is that the key?
I think her ultimate objective is to sell her own clothes and get a commission off of it, but she is an investor in the app as well.
Okay. Yeah, I just can't figure out how she's going to make money besides that. Nobody's going to want to buy what she's wearing.
I don't want to. And her grief grift. No, thank you. I'd rather no.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll go a little more heavily into this quote because this, I think, was the most alarming quote to come out of the Ukraine. So during his trip, Harry told ITV News, Chris Ship, who felt like he was pandering, and I don't mind saying that, Chris Ship, get a grip, let's go, that he still considers himself a working member of the royal family, rejecting the label of not a working royal, which I use every week and I will continue to use. In fact, I might double it now. He stated he is doing the very thing he was born to do by continuing his service and advocacy work. Friendly reminder, Scott, that last week we're discussing Prince Harry saying he didn't want to be a member of the royal family or a working royal while he was in Australia. Remember that fight we had where he said, being a royal killed my mom. I didn't want to do it. And here he is saying, like, almost in an aggressive, arrogant way. No, I am one, even though I was just talking about how I hated it. Should we watch it and then you react? How would you prefer to do it? Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Harry, do you recognise that phrase, not a working royal? I mean, it strikes me, you're obviously from the royal family, you're here doing a trip, bringing attention to a really important cause that risks being forgotten. Do you recognise that description of you?
No, I will always be part of the royal family, and I'm here working and doing the very thing that I was born to do. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy being able to do these trips and come and support the people that I've met before, the friends that I've made, and hopefully bringing attention to issues that, for one reason or another, drop out of the news because something else has popped up. But I'm grateful to all of you guys being here and telling these stories that so desperately need to be told. I understand focus will shift to different places. But ultimately, as I said, what I see, what I hear, and what I learn is that the vast majority of people, whether you're in the UK or whether you're anywhere else in the world, want to see proper leadership, and they want to see an end to these conflicts, whether that's through diplomacy, however we can bring these conflicts to an end for the sake of everybody now, but also for the future of younger generations coming through.
Do you think any of this is going to have an impact on the big state visit next week?
Any of what?
Any of what you've said here will have an impact on a big state visit?
I don't think so. Not at all.
To me, it feels like he was prepared for that question. He loved that question and he was ready for that question.
Yeah, but let's talk about his body language when he asks the question, because we see a whole lot happening there. He does that, oh shucks, oh shucks, it's just me. I'm
Gomer
I'm a
Pyle.
prince. Yeah, kicking the dirt. Oh shucks, yeah, I'm a royal. That's why I'm here. Just trying to help, man. But watch what happens. He has that blink flash where he blinks really, really quickly. His blink rate goes through the roof there just for a second. So that lets us know there's a little stress there. But at the same time, he's almost batting his eyes at this guy. So you can look at it two different ways. It could be stress, and I think it is a little bit stress because he knows that's not true, that he's a real royal from what he's saying. But you see him pop up a couple of times. When we get good news, when you see somebody who's on the phone and they get good news, and they'll pop up a little bit, like the kid is okay or something. Oh, okay, great, that's great. Or when somebody's getting married and you see the groom sees the bride come out, watch how they lift up real quick. So we see him do that.
What's the good news he's getting? That Chris Shipp still thinks he's a royal?
Yeah, that he's calling him a royal, and people are going to hear it. But let's listen to how he's talking. He's talking, he gets really quiet after that because he knows he shouldn't be talking about this, and he's wishing that question hadn't been brought up. All those little shoulder shrugs let us know that he's not confident with that answer, because that all shucks thing was at the first. That's when he pops up and starts smiling. But when we start seeing the shoulder shrugs, he gets really quiet. His volume drops probably 5 dB at that point. And it's really soft as he's answering that question and talking about that.
Because he has to be realizing that this is not what's going to come out of the Ukraine is not necessarily what he's saying about, please remember Ukraine. What's going to come out of the Ukraine and what the Ukraine trip and everything I've seen so far is, you sent me a longer soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
I cut that soundbite down to what was relevant to us. And every news agency is doing the same. They're not playing that whole answer where he was like, and yeah, that's why I'm here, because we forgot about Ukraine and news moves fast. Where what everyone is focusing on is, I'm still a working royal. I was born to do that. And he has to know that as he's answering it, probably like what you're saying, what's going on in his mind is, this is going to be the only takeaway from this trip now, because I've answered this question. And now this is going to be the only thing that people talk about. They're not going to talk about the purpose of my visit. They're now just going to be talking about the fact that I am defiantly claiming, despite quitting my job, that I'm a working royal.
That's probably what he wants. Think about it like that. He may want that. Who else wants that? The other part of him, Meghan. So
yeah, you're right. They do want that. They want us to think that they have permission to do this half in, half out. I mean, I know you're not the person to talk about this, Scott, because we're a whole other team. But I am getting really, really fed up with the palace not taking action against these two and stripping them of their titles. They have no business representing anyone. They are unqualified to represent everyone. It's one thing if they were in the structure of the palace and the palace was approving speeches and the palace was choreographing who they were engaging it with and what the ultimate objective is. But these two are unpredictable. They're self-serving. They're pretty toxic. And and I just am so sick of the palace not saying, look, we have nothing to do with these two. We are absolutely, completely unassociated, and we will continue to be unassociated. They do not represent us. We need to take away their titles just to ensure that the world knows that. And, I've made a lot of excuses for the king. I've said, well, he has cancer. He just had to be cruel to his brother. This is a difficult thing for him, but I'm hitting a wall here. I'm over it. Like the what I saw in Australia, what I'm seeing here, it's two people that are out of control and out of their depth.
Yeah, he's shooting off pot shots, and when talking about war, and does Britain think that about us? What's happening? Is that what they're thinking? What are they saying? So then you've got to run. They probably know it. I'm sure the people watching this that would look at this from a military standpoint or political standpoint, go, this guy, he's talking about, but he shouldn't be doing that, because politically, you're dealing with the masses, and the masses are the ones you represent as the leaders of the political leaders. So it's not good he's doing that if he's not a part of it. And again, it shows that rift. It shows that divide, that rift of communication between what do y'all call it, the monarchy and him. Is he part of the monarchy even though they've kicked him out? Okay.
No. I
How
mean,
that
they're not
works
even
out.
taking that mofo's calls right now. All right, like on to way more pleasant topics.
Let me ask you one more thing before we get
yeah.
on the bad stuff. Does
Yeah.
his brother like him? Do they get along still?
No, he won't talk to him. He hasn't talked to him in years.
And that's for real? They haven't talked?
Yes. I mean, because
Ooh.
he went after his wife. He's gone after his
Oh.
wife multiple times. He wrote again in Spare, where he's talking about his Todger and he's talking about his kills. He printed private text messages between Catherine and Meghan without Catherine's permission, the future queen, through a friend. Catherine is accused of being the royal racist alongside King Charles in the book Endgame, written by Omid Scobie. And this is weeks before Catherine had to have a very serious surgery, a lower abdominal surgery, which slowly evolved into what we found out was cancer and took her out of the public eye for a year. So Harry and Meghan have been piling on and making Catherine's life a living hell since they left the royal family. And William wants nothing to do with Harry because of that. I think the last time they spoke was after Queen Elizabeth passed away a few years ago.
What about his dad? Does he talk to him at all?
Occasionally, they had a tea or something in September, a very brief tea in September. But for the most part, because Harry has so much litigation going on in the United Kingdom, and in America, it's the people verse in a courtroom, and in the United Kingdom, it's the crown verse.
Oh, okay.
The king stays away from Harry because Harry could go into a courtroom and say, the king said this to me, and throw the whole trial into a hot mess express. So the king keeps his distance from Harry because of all the litigation Harry has going on in the UK.
So when you say they had tea together, that means lunch, right? Am I right about that?
There might have been a few little snacky snacks. I
So
mean,
was
it's
an
not lunch
event?
in the sense that you and I have lunch, where somebody brings out mashed potatoes and collard
Meatloaf, we
greens
both
and
shut up.
we in a Coke and a pop. It's more like, yeah, there's a plate set and there's a tiered, plate set in front of them with a few small bites like cookies and cucumber sandwiches and tea. It's very formal and uncomfortable and not friendly. And it's my understanding that Harry was frustrated, allegedly, that he had to enter through the same quarters that regular people do. So he had to go through a metal detector
instead of an event.
No, he had to
just,
no, like in all the royal households, people that work for the royal family or people that are not members of the family have to walk through security and metal detectors and those things. If you're a member of the royal family, you just walk right in. There are special entrances for you. But because Harry has been so untrustworthy over the last few years, he has to come through the entrance with the metal detectors to ensure he's not wearing a microphone, to ensure he's not secretly recording the conversation. He rarely talks to his father on the phone or over Zoom. His father does automatically send gifts for birthdays and holidays to the children. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to having a real relationship, I mean, Harry was just in Australia complaining about his father, saying he's not complaining about his father, but he's a better father than the father he had.
Oh, ouch. That's
so
not good.
Why, the king really doesn't have much to say to this guy.
So Andrew's bringing in, what's in the middle of the night with nobody checking anything.
Hookers.
Yeah. So he has to come through the gate like layman, like I'd have to go through like plain old guy stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. That's too bad.
Yeah. I love when you say that's too bad. Wait, did you have any other questions before we move on to the happy stuff?
Why didn't he divorce her?
Meghan?
I don't get. I'm just kidding because
I think we got another. I think that we've got another few years in California. If you're married for 10 years in the state of California, you get a better payday if you're a woman. So I think that that's probably what we're looking at, allegedly, if we're just hypothetically discussing something like that.
You know what, though? I think if you're married and you get a divorce, you should get half anyway.
Well, that's why all the ladies love you, Scott. That's why all the ladies love you.
Think about how much sense that makes, because it's not just you doing this. You're out there doing stuff, but your wife is doing that. She's your teammate. She's doing that with you. She's one taking care of everything behind the scenes. So it's a team effort. I think you should. That's me. Half and half.
Oh my gosh, all the ladies are swooning right now in the chat. If they're still with us, they're probably mad at me for my disowning the British royal family because they won't cut Harry and Meghan off. All right, let's do a sweet story. Princess Catherine showed her trademark warmth at Buckingham Palace, sharing an emotional hug with an 88-year-old widower who attended an event to honor Queen Elizabeth, but he tells the Princess of Wales that he's actually there honoring his late wife's wish. Very, very sweet. This was caught by Russell Myers, who works at the Mirror and who we talk to sometimes here on this channel. But it's a quiet but powerful moment that says everything about Catherine's instinct to connect. We honestly should have been watching this versus some of Meghan's moments in Australia, because I think that they're so stark. What a sweet video of just like a sincere moment, an authentic moment.
Yeah, there's a whole lot going on there. If you watch this man, watch how he's barely touching her and his hand goes up and down. You can actually see his hand isn't moving the cloth on her arm. He's barely touching her because he knows that's disrespectful to grab her like that. But she's almost supporting his arm. She's doing the same thing. So they both kind of hold their arms out like that without really touching really hard. That shows a lot of respect. And this is about as intimate as a conversation can get if this person isn't in your family. That close, holding like that, and you hear people have which you will, talking about earlier where we saw that 100-year-old woman and they're talking back and forth.
We're going to do that in a second.
Okay, because maybe we were talking that before this, but in this case, that's as intimate as you can possibly get in a conversation with someone who's not in your family, because you're looking right at them. You hear those conversations where somebody says, there was nobody else in the room. He talks to me like that. Well, in that situation, there's nothing else going on but those two, and they both know it. And if you see it, you know that's what's happening. So that's a true connection right there. Both people don't do that. One person could do it. He could have her by the arms and she could be standing going with her eyebrows up like that. But she's concerned. She's got her eyebrows down a little bit and her head is tilted. That lets us know she's listening as well.
Yeah.
So that's a heavy moment right there. That's a heavy moment right there.
It's sweet, right? Don't you think it's sweet?
Oh, yeah. It's adorable. Bless his little heart.
It is. It's so sweet. Well, what I forgot to mention, and I apologize for not mentioning it, is the room they're in, the event they're at. They're celebrating Queen Elizabeth's 100th birthday. And we have this other video that you referenced, Prince William, and this cheeky moment, joking with a 100-year-old guest that she looked too young to be there. When he asked her secret to longevity, her answer was all about British goodies like clotted cream fudge and licorice, all sorts. But at one point he suggests that they need to call security because he doesn't believe that she is 100, which I thought was adorable. Very sweet. The way he's touching her, the way he's engaging, like he is having that conversation with her and her alone. You can see all the girls are like swooning, like, oh, William, trying to insert themselves in the conversation. But he is committed to this birthday girl.
Yeah. And from a body language perspective, we can see that because we can see it. It's so obvious, but just to point some things out. Notice how their heads are both pushed forward, but their whole bodies aren't coming in like that. that shows respect at the same time. And he's holding her little hand and patting on it and stuff and talking to her. And again, he's locked in with her. Watch the blink rate on these people. Wasn't very high at all
Yeah.
because their brain's saying, I'm taking all this in. I'm getting all this I possibly can for you, all the information I can. There's a lot going on there that shows us that that's he's he does that all the time, but that looks sincere to me. I think he means that,
Yeah.
and her friends next to her, you see her face getting big and popping in too. So you kind of try to pop your face into those situations so you can be part of it, which she should be, because I'm sure that's her, family or friend or something. But yeah, that's a really sweet little moment there. And they're both trying to connect. That's why the head comes out as well. He's trying real hard and she's trying real hard, although they're already connected. So, and that's about as close as you can get for a situation like that without family as well.
It just feels like, in comparison to Harry and Meghan's Australia trip,
Ugh.
William and Catherine are in the zone, and this is something that they really enjoy doing. And they're so natural at it. And it does feel, again, I hate to use the word authentic, but authentic, sincere, sweet. They just truly feel like they're there in the moment and they're enjoying themselves. Whereas with Harry and Meghan, oh, I sent you. Do you remember that picture I sent you a few days ago? I'm going to just show it briefly on here. The picture I sent you on, sorry, I sent it to you on, this to me just is such a reflection of Meghan Markle. Like, she's hugging this child, but trying to figure out where the camera is. That is alarming.
Yeah. Well, you look at what was going on in this picture, they're not trying to move on to the next person. See what I'm saying? They're not trying to get to as many people as possible for the best pictures.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can look at pictures and you really can't tell a whole lot from them, because you look at a picture of a person, what they're doing, because they may be moving from one emotion to another emotion in there, so their faces change or whatever. But that looks a little rough, man. That's hard to talk your way out of that one, where she's looking for something else. When the expression, if that's a real picture, I mean, I look at that and go, how could she be doing that and have that look on her face?
I guess I should say, if that's a real picture.
Yeah.
But it is circulating all over the internet from Australia. So
it may
allegedly.
Yeah, and it may be a clip from a video. You never know. But still, if that's what it looks like, that's not good at all. Of course, she's looking, you can see she's looking for a camera, but I think she's looking for the next one to go to. Where do I go next? Where do I go after this? Because she's just hitting these things and she's counting them where the other ones count in the situation we saw before this. But she's trying to get as many as possible to make it count. And he's doing one at a time. And if he gets to somebody else, great. If not, I'm here. Like you said, living in the moment. That's the key. Because that's all there is the minute you're in the moment you're in right then. And that woman will remember that for the next 5 years of her life. Because if she lives to be 105, everybody else will remember it too.
Yeah.
About how nice he is and how they connected and all that. That's all they're going to talk about every Thanksgiving they won't have Thanksgiving, but from what did British have?
Christmas. Yeah. Christmas.
Okay, every Christmas they're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
The time that she met the prince, who's now the king.
And he was flirting with her.
There you go. There you go. Tell me about what he said, and that's the way it works. You know how it works. You're Southern. You know how it works. So,
I love it. That's so sweet. Those were the highlights of my week. And I pulled them early on to be like, oh, these will be cute conversations for us to have. And then we got the avalanche of Harry and his arrogance and his delusion. And I was like, well, this has changed the show completely.
Yeah.
But,
the
gift that keeps on giving.
I can't. I'm telling you, this thing's got me. I can't get loose. What is he? Have you talked to his dad lately? What's going on with it? And, all that. I can't get.
Also,
nothing.
by the way, Scott calls me and is like, "What's going on with this?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is what I know." It's just so you guys know, he's in it to win it now.
Man, yeah, it's really weird because any guys watching this, well, by this time probably aren't a whole lot of them. But if you are watching it, you get it, man. And you're not telling any. Let me tell you what you're not doing. You're not telling anybody about this. Nobody. And I know.
We know they know. We know they know. We know they know.
I get it.
All right. If you love us, then make sure you subscribe to Scott Rouse on YouTube. He's blowing up 200,000 subscribers. That's my friend. Make sure you subscribe to me if you haven't done that already. Again, subscribe, share this video with a friend. If you were tickled at all and thought we were funny, send it to a girlfriend and say, I think you might like to join our club. We love you. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. Scott Rouse, thanks for hanging out with me today. And thank you for your brilliant brain.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I have the best time doing these. I learned so much with my new hobby.
Your royal watching hobby.
It's oh, man. I know I'm going to catch it when somebody I know watches this. That's all it's going to be.
We have an exciting week planned next week because we're going to have all of the DC visit that we can break down.
Yeah, that'll be good.
That'll be good. All right. We love you guys. We'll see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.